Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello everybody, and welcome to a very unique episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And there's a very special reason why this one is going to be a lot more different than many of the other episodes. And that is mainly because of the fact is that this episode was actually not live streamed at all. This never aired on Twitch. I never had an audience for it. In fact, if you are watching this on YouTube, then you may have noticed the chat wall is completely empty, and it will remain empty for the rest of the episode. And the reason why is because usually when I would do AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, I would go and do them every Saturday, where I would go and put it up live on Twitch, and I would be in front of an audience, interacting with people, getting their opinions on the news and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that recently, this Saturday, I wasn't able to. And the biggest reason was actually because, believe it or not, I was at the ER. Last week, I noticed that I was getting more and more sick, where I had infected tonsils, and it has gotten so bad to the point that not only was it impossible to sleep with, not only was it painful to swallow every time, even if it was my own saliva, but it started to be at the point where it began to be a bit difficult to breathe, which was why I had to spend 10 hours in the emergency room to figure out what truly was wrong with me. Now, the doctors there did everything they can in order to help me out in my situation, to help me get better immediately, and to figure out really what was my problem. And truthfully, they have figured out it was nothing more but infected tonsils. That it just started out with a bit of allergies, where it started out with sore throat, and then it just got really bad to the point that it got infected, and it went all around my head, where it also gave me an additional ear infection and other kinds of crazy stuff. But I will say that the good news is that ever since I came out of the ER, I have gotten so much better. I am still taking a bunch of antibiotics, and the good kind, by the way. I had antibiotics before to try to heal this, and they didn't work out. So these ones are going to work out much better. And even in terms of my voice, in terms of my health, I have gotten so much better right now. So with all that said, I have been putting a little bit of updates and reports on my social media about it. And I would like to go and say thank you, everyone, for your voices of concern. Thank you all so much for your support. And I can gladly say that things are going to go uphill from here. I know that in terms of my work, I will be set back heavily, but I will do everything, and I will do everything in my power in order to go and catch things up, in order to, get back to the good old AniMat you all know and love, and create some crazy and fun-filled videos, and of course, continuing on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So, with all that said, this is pretty much why this episode is going to be a little bit more different. This time, it's just going to be me, so, like I said before, there won't be any audience interactions. This might end up becoming a bit shorter than usual. It will feel a little bit strange without the participation of the chat wall, but don't worry, I'm sure that once I get a lot better when the next Saturday comes, everything will be back to normal. But it's just, with the news that we have got for you today, it's too unavoidable for me to not talk about them. I need to go and put out my thoughts on this and share with you all some of the craziness that recently has happened. So, with all that said, well, I mean, unfortunately, I can't ask the chat wall if people are ready, but for those of you who are listening, for those of you who are watching, I hope you are all ready for this, because we are now gonna go and officially get things started. And with the first story that I have for you today, it will be a bonus miscellaneous. This is not animation related, but it is something that a lot of people were just desperate to have. They have been waiting for so long to get any form of updates on this. They were just craving for it. They were starving for it. But now it is time that they have finally got something. It's just a small one. It's just a little 16-minute one. But at least it served something for them. And what I am talking about, of course, is going to be a new Nintendo Direct. Specifically, this is the Nintendo Direct that celebrates the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. And there have been tons of different Mario announcements. They also revealed like a lot of small things in order to go and celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary, especially with the original game's 35th birthday. A lot of things that are going to happen that's like Mario related, whether it be on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Splatoon 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Mario Kart Tours, even like getting some new bonuses on Super Mario Maker 2. But even though there are those little things, there is also some major announcements related to Mario, including some new games. Not necessarily new, but stuff that had been long rumored, but now has been confirmed to be true. And the biggest one that has been confirmed is, of course, the long-rumored, the long-anticipated, and now the officially confirmed Super Mario 3D All-Stars, taking 3 beloved Mario games, collect them all together, and now make it available for the Switch. Now, Super Mario 3D All-Stars is a collection that includes Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and the first Super Mario Galaxy. Now, what's interesting to note about this game in particular is that it does come with a bit of a catch, because this is not going to be available for long. Now, they stated that it will be first available on September 18th, but then, after a little bit of time, what's going to happen is that by the end of March, they're no longer going to make this available. Like, suddenly, they'll have this on in stores, and then suddenly, poof, it's gone. So the celebration will not last, and if you want to get your collection, if you want to get your piece of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, then you better do it soon. Especially now, it would be a perfect time to go and get it if your birthday is by the end of the year, or if it's in the beginning of the year, it's also good to have it, or you can have it in between, like during the holidays. It's also a good idea for that. So you still got a little bit of time. You still got a bit, like around 6 months in order to get your piece. But this is just to say it's not going to be in the shelves forever. But at the same time, Nintendo also made the announcement that when it comes to the original Super Mario All-Stars, that is currently available now on Nintendo Switch Online, in which from there, that means on the Switch, you will be able to go and play the original Mario games, which include Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, there is also other announcements that they have made. Of course, they have revealed that there is going to be another deluxe game that's going to be coming to the Switch. Now, of course, as you know, what Nintendo usually does with some Switch games is that they would like to take some of their Wii U games and they would like to go and port them onto the Nintendo Switch to give them a second chance. Another chance to reintroduce the game to audiences because, well, as we all know, the Wii U was an absolute failure, so now with the Switch being a much better and much more profitable console for Nintendo, at least now those games will not be entirely wasted on that one console, which is why we've seen a lot of these different ports onto the Switch, like new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is probably the best example of that. Well, now it seems like Super Mario 3D World is going to be having a new port on the Switch, along with a little bonus as well, which is going to be called Bowser's Fury, which is going to be like maybe an extension to the game where there's probably some bonus levels as well. So there is that. That is going to be available, but that one is not going to be coming out until a while. This deluxe game is actually going to be coming out on February 12th, 2021, so there's still a bit of time until you can get that version of 3D World. But then they have revealed there is a new version of Super Mario Bros. That's going to be coming out on the Switch on October 1st, and that is going to be called Super Mario Bros. 35. And this game is said to be a little bit similar to something like Tetris 39. Now, apparently what this game is that apparently you're going to be playing a special version of Super Mario Brothers, where you're going to be set in a specially designed obstacle course where you and 34 other players must compete, where you end up becoming the last person standing. So that's pretty much the whole concept of it all, is that, you know, you got to really put your Mario skills to the test in order to make sure that you become the last survivor of this. And I have noticed recently those games have become increasingly more popular, where these kinds of like last man standing games are starting to become more and more viral. I have noticed it's not just with this and also with Tetris 99, but you could debate like Fall Guys as another great example of one of those games where the last man standing ultimately wins. So I guess Nintendo wants to get a little bit of that piece as well, with Mario onto that. And then there is another game that they have revealed that is honestly a little bit interesting. This is apparently called Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. And I'll do the best that I can in order to explain how it is. But the thing is that it's one of those games where you gotta watch the trailer to fully understand what it's all about. Because technically it is another Mario Kart game that's coming, but there is also a live version. There's also like a real world interaction that comes with it, because it also comes with these toys. You know, you got like a Mario Kart toy or a Luigi toy, and you put those two together, and you can actually set your own tracks all around your living room space, that you can actually customize your entire living room to be its own style of Mario Kart track, and then you can actually play on the Switch. You can pretty much control your Mario or Luigi toy, which actually does have a camera, and you can actually drive around your living room or whatever room you set it up in as your track. It's a little bit complicated, but again, you got to go and check out the trailer to fully understand what this is all about. And finally, there is one more introduction that this Direct has done, which is going to be technically a new console, but it's more like a mini kind of thing. It's nothing major. It's not going to be like the next Switch or anything like that. It's apparently a new Game & Watch. Yes, there's going to be a Mario edition of Game & Watch, in which this little portable console will allow you to play not just the regular Super Mario Bros., but also Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. And it also has other functions as well that are similar to Game & Watch, where you can play those little Game & Watch games, and it can also function as its own alarm clock. So we don't really have any other major announcements regarding like the price or how is it going to be when it will hit stores and stuff like that, but we know it's going to be coming out on November 13th. So in case you want to have like a special collector's item from Nintendo's past or something like that, or kind of like, you know, like a little throwback, kind of like those little consoles that they sold, like the NES Mini or the SNES Mini, then maybe you can add that to your collection as well, because it is a Game & Watch, which is kind of an integral piece in Nintendo's history, and really one of their first major steps into entering the video game business. So that's pretty much all the major news that they have revealed on this Nintendo Direct. And a lot of these are very fascinating, and of course, like, they do serve your major fill of, like, Mario content of what you want. At least for the first time in a very long time, audiences have actually gotten a bit of a satisfied Nintendo Direct with all the announcements that they have gotten. Now, of course, some people are saying that there are still those who are complaining, especially with some of the other announcements like Mario 3D All-Stars and stuff like that, but then again, it's kind of impossible to make a Nintendo Direct without people complaining, so you know what, screw them. But But, honestly, in my perspective, if I may put in my piece on this, considering that, of course, if you know me, then, like, in terms of my gamer side, I am a massive Nintendo fanboy. I love the Nintendo games. They're probably my favorite company compared to, like, Microsoft or Sony. I've pretty much grown up with them, and of course Mario is absolutely no exception. In fact, I actually do remember playing games like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy on their original consoles and having a lot of fun with them. So hearing this announcement about the 3D All-Stars, it's actually very interesting, but also what I find to be very special that not many people seem to be talking about is the fact that it is coming to the Switch. Now, of course, a lot of people are talking about the fact that the resolution is going to be like much clearer. It's going to be much better now that it is on the Switch, where like now you can play games like Mario Galaxy or Mario Sunshine in full-on HD. But you gotta keep in mind about, like, the whole concept of the Nintendo Switch. It's not just a home console, but it's also a portable console as well. Now, of course, when it comes to Super Mario 64, this is not the first time that it became portable, because there does exist a portable version of Mario 64 with Super Mario 64 DS. But what we have here, this is the first time now that we got both Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Sunshine becoming portable, and that is actually going to be fun. That is going to be interesting to see. So, honestly, for me, like if I would actually go and full on buy this game, I don't know, honestly. Like, it would be like something cool to get. Like, if I end up owning it, then I'm not going to complain. That would actually be an awesome piece of, like, Nintendo memorabilia to own. But am I in a rush to go and get it? For me, no, because I actually do own these games individually, and if I want to go back to them, then I'll just go back to them in their original consoles and play them on there. So I'll just go and do that. Like, it's not a major priority for me to go and get Super Mario 3D All-Stars, but I will admit it is kind of a cool thing to get. Now, as for some of the other additions that they have announced, the other games that they have revealed as well, like the Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury edition that's going to be coming to the Switch, yeah, that's actually a cool thing that they have also revealed. Honestly, I haven't touched a whole lot of it because I will say I do have a Wii U and I do have Super Mario 3D World. And what's funny to note about that is that I haven't fully played it in its entirety, but I do remember it being a very fun game. So I'm sure when this comes out on the Switch, a lot of people are going to have a blast with this. So it's great to see this game in particular getting a second life, and on top of that, also getting a new mode with it, with Bowser's Fury. That's going to be interesting to see what that is actually going to be all about. Now, I don't know if, for me personally, if I would get this, because again, I already have it on the on the Wii U. But then again, like, with the addition of Bowser's Fury, maybe, like, it would give me a much better chance to play it in full. So that's going to be another thing. I feel like that's going to be more of a wait and see kind of thing, if it would be worth it or not. But that's just me personally. But I am glad to see this game getting a second chance, because it definitely is fun. And I would like to see more people actually play it and try them out themselves to see, like, this kind of, like, new style of playing the Mario games. And then we also got, of course, Super Mario Bros. 35, which will be interesting to try out. I already explained my piece that this does feel like Nintendo is really jumping into the trend of, like, the last man standing games like Tetris 99 or crap. Suddenly, I just realized, it's like, wait a minute, I just lost the name. Wait, is it Fall Boys or Fallout Boys or Fallout Guys or something like that? It's like, why did I suddenly forget the name? Crap, I've been watching a lot of those videos lately and they look hilarious. They look fun. It's just, why did I suddenly forget about it now? Oh well, the name will probably, or Fall Guys, or whatever. Anyways, you guys know what I am talking about, but one thing that I am curious about is that this is also one of those games that is only going to be available for a limited time, because just like with Super Mario 3D All-Stars, in this case here, apparently, this will apparently no longer be active, by March 31st, 2021. So I don't know why Nintendo's big plan to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary is meant to only last until that moment in March. Maybe they got something special planned when April 2021 comes around, but honestly, we'll have to wait and see. But it's kind of weird, honestly. I don't know. Like, maybe I'll try this one out, but it's strange how they kept this at a limited time. And then, probably like the weirdest announcement that they have made. Oh, actually, beforehand, well, I've already talked about my piece with the whole Game & Watch thing, but yeah, like the weirdest thing I gotta say, like if there is one strange addition, it definitely has to be Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, because it is true when you think about it, it does seem like Nintendo really wants to try to expand playing video games more so than just playing it on the Switch. You know, I don't know, like there is a part of me that does feel like this is very novelty-like, that it really does lean a lot on the novelty, and it does remind me of the cardboard games. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, I used to be, I will admit, I used to be obsessed with those things. I only bought the regular pack, and I also got the VR kit, but oh crap, that's another name that for some reason that just escapes me, but what was it? Crap, I'm trying to remember. Actually, hold on a sec. You know what? I'm gonna go and look it up right now. I'm just gonna go and try to figure it out. Actually, you know what? Oh, Fall Guys. Okay, that is the name. Fall Guys. Okay, so we settled with that. I just need to know what's the cardboard game? Yeah, like. Fudge, for some reason the name escaped. Nintendo Labo. Of course, that's what it is. So, you know, that's really the big thing that this whole Mario Kart Live thing reminds me so much. It kind of has that novelty aspect that feels very similar to Nintendo Labo, where it does require much more than just having the console itself, that you got to go and build like this entire elaborate thing. And especially with something like this is something that it really does state that you need a lot of room for, and that you do need, of course, like the right floor space for it, because I can't really imagine this thing working out well in like on a carpet surface. I feel like this is something that you gotta have like a wood floor, and you gotta have the right space for it, and you gotta like build this entire set, and you gotta make sure all the characters drive around correctly. I don't know. It just feels very novelty-like. I don't know if it's going to end up selling well. Even for me, I will admit, like, as cool as this may seem, and I'm sure the game itself is great, but it's just like, that's really the big question. Do I have enough space for it, and do I have the space for it in order to properly play this game, in order to have, like, the actual carts go around wherever I want to play while I can actually play on the Switch. So that I feel like it's a little iffy. That's the one thing I feel like it's going to be the next Nintendo Labo. It's like, it's great in concept, and I'm sure the game itself is a lot of fun and it's really cool. But in terms of how this is, like the whole thing that they're presenting, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's going to fly with me, or it's going to fly with anyone, really. It's going to be one of those that they'll put it at like $100 price, like in stores and stuff like that, and then give it some time, like give it like maybe a year, or not even, like maybe 6 months. Like, you'll see the price significantly drop because it's not making enough sales. So I don't know. I just feel like that's the one thing that feels like this is just Nintendo trying to make another version of Labo, but putting the Mario Kart brand onto it. But I will say, overall, when it comes to this Nintendo Direct, it really does manage to sell exactly what they want to go and promote. And I mean, technically, this is a mini version of this is just a mini version of a Nintendo Direct. It's not like a full giant one altogether, especially when this one only focuses on Mario and Mario only, but they do provide some very fascinating info and some very interesting games that even I'm actually pretty interested in. So far, like, there's nothing really that has been announced that would be a major priority for me to get, but they are definitely interesting, I will say. Like even right now, even though I'm not in a hurry to go and fully get Super Mario 3D All-Stars, it does seem like something that if I would have it, I would be happy to own. So yeah, honestly, a lot of these are very fascinating, and we'll see how things will go when Nintendo will release them. Okay, so, since we don't have a chat wall to go and ask people for their thoughts on the stories that I would be talking about, thus making me realize that this episode is actually very lonely and kind of sad at the same time. Man, I can't wait for next Saturday and for the next episode when things are like fully back to normal and I could do this live and have people to talk to and stuff like that. Oh, that would be great. But anyways, let's go and move on to the next story, in which I actually have a trailer for you all. And this time, we are actually going to go and check out an upcoming series on Netflix, in which it's kind of surprising that this franchise has yet to actually have an animated series. Or maybe it has, but it's really not that well known. But it's about time that someone will do something about it, or at least DreamWorks will do something about it. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the next series from DreamWorks Animation that they are going to provide to Netflix, which is going to be Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. So let's go ahead and check it out now.
We thought it'd be fun. We thought we'd be safe. We didn't realize the horror waiting for us on the island. Claws, teeth, screaming. So much screaming.
What? Huh?
For the vlog. Keep telling your little story.
Welcome to Isla Nublar, campers. You are the first kids in the entire world to ever experience the awesomeness that is Camp Cretaceous.
I don't do well on windy roads.
As our first campers, we've lined up exclusive behind-the-scenes tours of Jurassic World, as well as kayaking, rock climbing, obstacle courses, and of course, real dinosaurs!
What was that?
Asset out of containment. Repeat, asset out of containment. We've got a real emergency here.
Where is everybody? There's usually someone around.
Hello? Hello?
We're on our own.
Please tell me you have a plan.
We'll get south to the park.
Hang on!
We're a team, or we're nothing at all.
I mean, we're in two.
This is what camp's about. Who's with me?
So, that was Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. Yes, an animated series based on the recent Jurassic Park trilogy, or in this case, Jurassic World. Now, before I get into my thoughts onto this series in particular, I just need to state that when it comes to the Jurassic Park movies, especially with the first, I mean, there's nothing really to go against it. It is such a cinematic classic, and of course, a massive favorite for many, especially with the way that it really brought dinosaurs to life on the big screen that very few people could ever imagine it would be possible to do. Or, like, the way that they have done it was much more revolutionary than some of the techniques that have been done in the past, rather it be like the Ray Harryhausen style stop-motion features. So it really was one of the most revolutionary feature films of its time. But then when it comes to the Jurassic World movies, and as I'm recording this, there's only the first Jurassic World, and then there's Fallen Kingdom, and then coming soon, I believe next year, there's going to be Dominion. I will say with the first two, I'm really not that impressed. I am not a fan of those films. I mean, they do look great, and it's fun seeing the dinosaurs in a theme park-like environment, but other than that, as a movie, it's just dull, really. It's just, it feels like the script is so lazily written. The actors don't feel like they seem to care much about the roles that they're playing, especially with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, like mostly doing the same things they would usually do in their respective movies. And on top of that, it just feels like a soulless cash grab in order to capitalize on the nostalgia of Jurassic Park. And whenever they would try to expand on their own concepts, that's just something that feels like they're just digging themselves a way deeper hole. And that is especially the case with Fallen Kingdom, where they want to try to expand the lore of Jurassic Park, the lore of like the characters that are in there, especially with Lockwood, and like, oh god, it's just like, the more I think about it, the more stupid like these movies actually are. So as you can guess, I'm not really that big of a fan of like the Jurassic World franchise. I have so much respect for Jurassic Park, but not necessarily much for Jurassic World. The only exception I would give to is maybe the ride itself. Like, I haven't actually rode Jurassic World the ride, but I have seen like clips of it when working on my review of like the top 10 rides based on animated films. It's just I needed to use that in order to put clips as like B-roll for stuff that I would be talking about. That's how I saw it. And I mean, yeah, it does look like a very impressive ride, and probably the best thing to ever come out of the whole Jurassic World franchise. But yeah, the movies, they're not all that great for me. So when watching this Camp Cretaceous trailer, really, there's just nothing for me that I see it that seems really appealing. Because what I see here is mostly the exact same things that we have already gotten in the movies, where you got a bunch of people that are entering in this Jurassic Park or this Jurassic World theme park or whatever, and then suddenly things don't go as well as planned, and suddenly they're stuck with all these dinosaurs surrounding them. It just feels like they're just regurgitating the same plot lines of not just what we've already seen in Jurassic World, but also with what we have already seen with Jurassic Park. So it's mostly delivering the same things again and again and again, and especially with this thing, this is not just a movie. This is supposed to be a whole animated series, so I don't know how many times are they going to go and fully repeat the same kind of plot line again and again and again of a bunch of people that are stuck on this island that's filled with dinosaurs, especially when a lot of them are kind of like the same ones that we have seen that they're trying to run away from, especially with the big appearance of Indominus Rex. I do believe that is Indominus Rex from the first Jurassic World movie, the big, like, super dinosaur, the super T-Rex that they heavily promote in the movie. But, like, other than that, though, like, we see, like, they're trying to run away from, like, pterodactyls flying above them. And we also got, like, other little cameos. Like, we saw, like, for sure... where is it? Yeah, there we go. It was just a small little moment, but we saw, like, here's Blue. Like, you know, this is Chris Pratt's favorite little raptor. Like, we know Blue is going to go and make a cameo on this, so they're going to have a lot of connections to the Jurassic World franchise. Now, we don't know if that necessarily means any of the characters or any of the humans from Jurassic World are actually going to go and appear in this. I guess that's something we will have to wait and see. But from there, like, especially when it comes to the plot line, the whole concept and stuff like that, a lot of it is just copying what we have already seen before. So the only thing that would make this unique, the only thing that would make this stand out as a Jurassic World project would be just the characters. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, there is nothing memorable about these characters that I am seeing so far in this trailer. Now, I could be wrong, and maybe there's a lot more that the characters could reveal about themselves when the series actually does come out. That could actually be the case. But in here, though, there is nothing that I see here that really makes these campers stand out. Like, yeah, like, some people could say, yeah, they're more color coordinated. Like, you got the pink girl here, you got the guy with the yellow jacket, then you got the dude with the blue sweatshirt and stuff like that. Like, maybe there are some ways you could distinct them, but other than that, like, maybe, like, just their appearances that can make them a little bit more different, but honestly, there's just nothing much else that I could find that really makes them unique in terms of, like, would they deliver a memorable personality, or, like, most importantly, the biggest question, why should I care that their lives in peril of the fact that they are stuck in an island filled with dinosaurs? And this trailer is not selling me on that. It's not giving me a reason to care about these individuals. Like, what makes them so special? What makes them, like, stand out as, like, being the next potential Chris Pratt, or the next potential Jeff Goldblum, or the next potential Samuel L. Jackson, or whatever? It's just, I really don't see anything from this that makes me say that I want to care about these characters, which, honestly, I don't. And from there, it's just really giving, like, maybe this is just me. Maybe it's just, like, my disinterest in Jurassic World, or maybe this is just, or I don't know what it is, but it's just like, this trailer is just bad. Maybe that's really what it is. It's just, this is a poorly executed trailer that fails to sell me on what this is all about. It fails to sell me this whole series in particular, and it's really giving me nothing new. It's nothing, there's nothing interesting that is selling to me. And on top of that, I would even go as far and say that even the animation doesn't look all that great. I mean, usually with DreamWorks animated series, I mean, yeah, sure, their animations are not necessarily as strong as their movies. Like, I can definitely buy that, but even by the standards of, like, DreamWorks animated series from Netflix, they often can do much better, especially with the computer animated ones. I'm sorry, but, like, the thing is, this is from the same, like, technically, this would be from the same studio that has brought us the Tales of Arcadia series, and if you look at those ones are, like, so beautifully animated. And, I mean, it could be the case that maybe the animation here was made by a different studio on top of getting help from DreamWorks Animation, but I don't know, like, even the animation, I can't help but feel like it is a little bit subpar. So overall, when it comes to Camp Cretaceous, I feel like there's nothing for me that there's anything worth watching here. It's just a lot of the stuff, I feel like the whole dinosaur aspect of it, I've already seen it in the other Jurassic Park movies. With the characters, I don't know who they are. This trailer does not answer me about who they are, so I really don't care about them. So there's really nothing about this that really does interest me to check this one out. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there are some Jurassic World fans out there that would be highly interested in checking this out, and if that's the case, then more power to them. But for me, I don't know, maybe it's just me, or maybe it's just my disinterest in Jurassic World, but really, this is a dud for me. This is something I'll easily pass, unfortunately. And for those of you who are interested, by the way, if you want to go and check this series out, apparently it's going to be coming on Netflix on September 18th, in case you are interested to go and visit Camp Cretaceous. Okay, now, with the next story that I have for you today, what we are going to talk about is a brand new movie that has just been released. And this one has been long awaited. It was supposed to come out in March, but considering we were in a pandemic, it had been delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed until finally Disney decided to just give up and just put the release onto Disney+. And I'm talking, of course, about Mulan. Now, I talked about this movie plenty of times in the podcast before, including recently, with the fact that it actually does come with a price tag. If you want to go and check it out, you may recall the premium access, where on top of the money that you're already paying for your service on Disney Plus, you would have to go and pay $30 extra to go and watch Mulan. And, like, the price may vary, like, depending on your region. Like, since I'm in Canada, I would have to pay $35 because of the exchange rate and stuff like that. But if you are concerned about the price of it, like, if you don't know if you want to pay or not, if you want to wait for it, or you need to check this out now, don't worry, there is an option that you could possibly wait. And if you are going to wait, well, you're not going to wait for long, actually. And what I'm talking about is going to be when this will be available to all Disney Plus members. Yes, it has actually been revealed that apparently the premium access for the live-action Mulan remake is not going to last long. In fact, they have actually revealed that exactly 3 months after the official release of the Mulan remake, that Disney is going to go and put it out again on Disney Plus, but make it fully available to all Disney Plus members. So you don't have to pay that whole premium access. You could just go there, just click on it, and just see it for yourself. In fact, to read a little bit more, to give you some more depth into what the whole plan is about, reading from my source here on Variety, it actually states, the Mulan Premiere Access offer will be available until November 2nd. Then, as of December 4th, 2020, Mulan will be available to all Disney Plus subscribers for no additional cost, according to an updated page on the service's site, as previously spotted by The Verge. So that's basically the whole thing. For those of you who really want to see the Mulan remake sooner than later, then you pretty much have up till November 2nd to go and pay for your premium access to go see the movie. But if you are patient enough, then you can wait until December 4th. Meaning that it's not just the fact that Disney would have 3 months to keep up the premium access. No, that's not the case. They have less than 2 months to keep it up there. And the reason why I feel like it is very fascinating to go and talk about this is mainly because of the purpose of premium access. Why Disney is even doing this in the first place. Because you gotta keep in mind, the whole purpose of premium access is because Disney is desperately trying to find ways in order to go and recoup costs from the budget of Mulan, which you gotta keep in mind, this is not a cheap movie. This is actually a film that costs $200 million, and that's just on the budget of the movie alone. This doesn't even include the marketing that they have already spent on, which I think previously I know I did talk about it before. I think the price range has already bumped up to like somewhere around $250 million or something like that, or at least that's the grand total cost of this Mulan remake, including the publicity and the advertising and all that kind of stuff. So from there, it's actually kind of crazy to imagine that in such a short span, Disney is hoping that they would be able to recoup cost. And if I may take a guess, if I may have to consider like all the different factors, because you got to keep in mind, as I am recording this, there have been no official reports as of yet regarding how much Mulan has made so far from the premium access alone. I know that there are some places that have it in theaters instead of just Disney Plus, because there are some countries that don't even have Disney Plus yet, and even in China, they're actually going to get Mulan on the big screen. But in this case here, in the case of the Mulan remake, with how premium access is going to go, I don't know, I feel like there's almost no way that at this point Disney is going to turn a profit off of this, or even try to break even. I think I think this really has kind of sealed the deal a little bit, where now, like, it's more likely than not that Disney is going to lose money on this for sure. And this is not to mention the fact, by the way, that like there is already so much controversy that has surrounded this Mulan remake to the point that there are still a lot of people that are hesitant to even watch it because of all those controversies. Rather it be some of the switch-ups that they have done within the movie, or rather it be related to the Hong Kong protests because the lead person who is playing Mulan can't freaking shut her mouth on the matter. And with that said, it's really hard to go and imagine how people are really going to go far and actually, would they be fully willing to go and spend $30 to just go and see this live action remake? And not to mention that there are going to be those people out there that, like, for $30, it will be beneficial for so many people. Like, all you need is just one person to go and pay $30, and they could actually just go and share their account with many of their friends and their families to go and actually check out this live action remake of Mulan. It's like this one hub, like this one giant hub account can just buy it, and then you'll get like so many other people who will actually go and see it. So, like, that $130, that doesn't necessarily reflect on one person alone. It could be, like, a whole group of people. Like, $30 could also mean, like, 30 people who have seen it, but from that one account. Because, like, that account has been shared with, like, friends and family and stuff like that. So, honestly, it's going to be insane to know how much Disney is going to make off of this, or if it's really that successful. Because, like, so far, we have only heard good things coming out of, like, these video-on-demand platforms and how they have been doing, especially during the pandemic. Of course, we have talked in length about what has occurred with Trolls World Tour, and we have also seen how Scoob has seen some success as well. But then there is this, and I don't know how things are going to go with it. I mean, like, sure, there will be some people that will talk about it in length. Like, there will be a time when, there will be some moments, like, even recently, where this Mulan remake is going to have its moment in the spotlight. But is that going to be enough for Disney to get their money back from this Mulan remake? And personally, I like, if I have to take a guess, I don't think so, especially with that short amount of time. I mean, you gotta keep... Oh, excuse me. There we go. Just needed to get a little bit of that lunch out. But anyways, as I was saying, like, you gotta keep in mind, they have less than 2 months to try to go and have the profits of the Mulan remake with the premium access to go above $250 million. And I remember there was a moment I did talk about this before, regarding, like, what are some of the chances, or, like, how many people need to go and, like, pay for the premium access in order for Mulan to turn a profit or to become a hit. And I think, like, the numbers, like, they say are pretty large at that point. Like, Disney would hope that a grand total of at least, like, around 13 to 15% of all their subscribers need to pay premium access in order for this film to become successful, in order for Disney to find profit off of this, which is not impossible, but it's very difficult. And honestly, what I feel like it makes it even more impossible is just the time frame, because keep in mind, just under 2 months, I don't think people would really be that interested. And especially the fact that this is a live action remake, in terms of their relevancy, it's immediately short. Like, just, like, give it a few weeks and then it's like, poof, it disappeared. Like, people will immediately forget about it. So I just feel like, while not impossible for this to fail, I feel like at this point it is going to be extremely difficult, and I feel like it is above 90% that Disney is going to be losing money off of this Mulan remake. And I've seen it already, by the way. I have paid my premium access, and I have seen the movie, and I will currently be working on the review of it. But rather if it's for the best or for the worst, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, overall, I guess you could say Disney has taken the risk on it, but I don't know if it's really gonna work out, especially with that little time frame there. But hey, you know, on the plus side, at least there will be people, like, I know there are plenty of people out there in December who will be interested in checking it out, so maybe the relevancy will slowly come back during December, but in terms of the profitability, yeah, I think there's a good chance Disney could say goodbye to that now. Okay, so moving right along to our next story right over here. We are going to be looking into a harmless little Nickelodeon series. Now, this was just a cute little thing that Nickelodeon wanted to put out and start a new Nick Jr. show that the preschoolers could enjoy. But lo and behold, there was just something about it that seemed very off about it. Something that might seem a little too familiar, in which many people have immediately caught right when Nickelodeon has put out the trailer for it. And what I'm talking about is a little show called Made by Maddie. And as you could tell from this little picture here, on the left you see this is Made by Maddie. And then on the other side, you notice this is a picture coming from the Oscar-winning animated short Hair Love. And from there, that's where you see the big problem of all this. Apparently, there have been a lot of people who has accused this Made by Maddie show to be a complete ripoff of Hair Love. Now, you might be thinking maybe that's a little bit exaggerated. Okay, maybe it's just the fact that it has this African-American family, and then you got Hair Love that also features an African-American family. Maybe that's just the case right there. Well, not exactly. This is actually one of those cases where the more you look into it, the more you look deeper into this Made by Maddie show, the more you realize that there's a lot more similarities to Hair Love than you'd expect. And the more you find them, the more uncomfortable this actually does become. Now, if you want to know a little bit about what this show is about, by the way, apparently, just a quick summary I'll read you here from Entertainment Weekly, that it says, Made by Maddie is a preschool show about an 8-year-old girl who uses her fashion sense and design ingenuity to solve problems. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily seem all that bad. It seemed pretty harmless at first. But then you see a little bit of the connections. Maybe not just by the pictures here, but there's this one Twitter picture that actually does give you a much better example. And here you have a pretty strong, like, you got a pretty good idea of, like, how things look. Like, on top you see Hair Love, and on the bottom you see Made by Maddie. And one thing you may first notice is the little girl. Now, of course, we got the little girl, first of all, in the bottom, where you got Maddie, who is the main star. But then you got the little girl, I believe her name is Zuri in Hair Love. And my god, do those designs look way too familiar. I think, like, the comparisons to their designs, it's like, it's almost identical. It's almost scary how similar they can be. But then there's also another example of a very similar design, and that has to be the dad. Because take a look, like, we also got the father figure who is right over here, and we got the dad here, and I can't help but feel like his facial structure is very similar to the dad from Hair Love. Not to mention that he has dreadlocks. Like, you got the little girl and you got the mom who have natural hair, but the dad somehow is the one that stands out with dreadlocks. And it's the same thing. They got freaking dreadlocks as well. And on top of that, another major comparison, what seems to be even more shameless, is that Made by Maddie also has a pet, which just so happens to be a cat. And look, if there is one pet that they got here in Hair Love, is that the main character also has a freaking cat as well. So you see, like, hold on, like, yeah, you'll probably find a better example, like, on the Entertainment Weekly page. Like that, there's the cat right over here, and then like you see, like they also got a cat in here, and it's like, and it's almost the same color. It's like it's almost that same grayish color as well. So it's like the more you look into it, the more you realize that, yeah, there's a lot of things that they are copying, especially with the whole theming of it all. I know that technically some could say that that is probably the big difference compared to Made by Maddie and Hair Love, is that Hair Love has to do with hair, Made by Maddie has to do with fashion. But then again, those two can debatably be very similar in a sense, where they both relate to a style of fashion. I mean, yeah, sure, one's a bit more clothing and the other one is a bit more hair, but they do go together, you know? They are in that same sense of fashion or beauty in a sense. That they do have like a similar sense of a sense of approach, the sense of style, the sense of purpose per se. Like there are still some strong similarities there. So from there, of course, as you could tell, this has gotten some massive backlash on social media, where even the creator of Hair Love, like he didn't necessarily say anything, but he looked at it and got a little curious about all this. Like one thing that he did, like he posted that emoji where it's kind of like a suspicious, like thinking look. It's like, oh, let's see, this Made by Maddie thing. That looks familiar, doesn't it? And of course, as you could probably imagine, the people who have made Made by Maddie did went and put out an official statement on this. I'll read you from my source here on Entertainment Weekly, as it states. Silvergate Media has been working on the series for the last 5 years, and by the way, that is also one defense that they do have, considering that the Kickstarter of Hair Love started back in 2017, so they're arguing that they have made their show for much longer. And throughout the production has taken steps to ensure a diverse production team and a appropriate voice cast lending their experience and talent. As creators ourselves, we have the utmost respect and admiration for Matthew A. Cherry and Hair Love, and our hope is that when people watch our show, they will see it. Its own story with its own adventures. So they're pretty much pressing hard of the fact that this is supposed to be its own animated series. They're really pressing hard on the fact that they want to go and show that Made by Maddie doesn't really have that much common with Hair Love in the first place. But there is one major problem with that, though. Now, technically, they wanted to say that they want to have that be ready for Nick Jr. soon. They actually scheduled it to have its world premiere on September 13th. The big problem with that, though, is that apparently it's gone. Nickelodeon decided to not take the risk, and they're like, nope, we're out of it. We ain't gonna be dealing with this kind of crap. And yes, what happened was that a couple of days after the whole controversy exploded, Nickelodeon decided that it was just for the best that they officially plug out, or they officially pull out Made by Maddie from Nick Jr. Like, they were ready to go and put it on the air, but now they decided they're just going to go with Plan B and try to figure something else out. In fact, they even put out a statement regarding the whole situation, which I'm going to be reading here from my source on The Hollywood Reporter, as it states. Made by Maddie is a show we acquired several years ago from Silvergate Media, a renowned production company we have previously worked on with other series. Since announcing the show's premiere date this week, we have been listening closely to the commentary, criticisms, and concerns coming from both views and members of the creative community. In response, and out of respect to all voices in the conversation, we are removing the show from our schedule as we garner further insight into the creative journey of the show. We are grateful to Silvergate Media for all their work, and we hold Matthew A. Cherry and the wonderful and inspiring Hair Love in the highest regard. So basically, after listening to all the criticisms, to the backlash and the controversy and stuff like that, Nickelodeon decided that it's probably for the best that they just not air Made by Maddie at all. They don't have an official confirmation of when there's going to be another release date for Made by Maddie, but we know that they decided to just take it out altogether. Now, this, I'm sure, could end up becoming a whole controversial subject altogether. Like, is this really a smart move for Nickelodeon to actually do? Is this the right thing for Nickelodeon to actually take one of their shows, hearing criticisms that it just feels too similar, and they're just going to go and pull it out? Well, apparently it seems that like, maybe not all hope is lost, because, like, even though they're not going to be airing it on September 13th, they will take a closer look to see if that would actually be the case, if it really is a Hair Love ripoff. But honestly, I think, like, even with the argument that people might say that, oh, well, this started way before Hair Love started and all that kind of stuff, but then again, even during those 5 years, they would still have a lot of time to rework their stuff and try to adjust for modern audiences and try to readjust things to make it more familiar, to make it more iconic as its own show. And I wouldn't be, and honestly, I just can't help but feel like the similarities, like, they cannot just be coincidences. I can't help but feel like it's just way too similar, especially in terms of the designs, especially with some of the character choices. There's just too much about it that feels way too similar to Hair Love. And you gotta keep in mind, with Hair Love, it's not just an animated short. It was, like, legit one of the biggest animated phenomenons of 2019. Like, when that came out on the big screen with Angry Birds Movie 2, and then, like, later on, Sony Animation would just post it online for free, it became massive. It became a phenomenon, especially after winning the Oscar for Best Animated Short. It was something that was considered like a massive must-watch. So a lot of people are very familiar with Hair Love. And, like, also another thing that did add a little bit to the controversy, I'm not 100% sure, but I have heard some people talking about the fact that with Made by Maddie, it was actually created by a white woman than a black voice, than someone who is actually black who made this series. So that also added a little bit of controversy, where it's this white woman creating these black characters and stuff like that, talking like often that would seem like it's discussing about black issues and stuff like that. So that's not necessarily something that people would fully get down with, and that in itself could be controversial in terms of race issues. But then again, that's like a little bit of its own subject in particular. But honestly, for me, yeah, I would have to go with the critics on this one, and I can't help but feel like the backlash is kind of justifiable, because the similarities are a little bit too similar. They're a little bit too much to be considered a coincidence. We're at the point where the designs are very similar, a lot of the creative choices are similar, even, like, having the freaking cat. Like, that's the one thing a lot of people are mentioning. It's like, even the freaking cat has been copied from the animated shorts. So, honestly, like, maybe it is harmless on its own. Maybe the studio is actually right, and maybe Made by Maddie is actually something that is completely not like Hair Love and stuff like that. But I honestly, like, even if it is relatively harmless, I can't help but feel like, yeah, the similarities are way too much, and it does feel like maybe it is a bit of a shameless ripoff to Hair Love. So maybe it's justifiable. At least I feel like it's a bit justifiable, and, like, maybe Nickelodeon has done the right decision, like, to avoid any form of, like, a lawsuit, even, like, to the point where with Matthew A. Cherry, like, being a bit suspicious about it, even though, like, he didn't fully say anything on it. Like, maybe it's for the best, like, Nickelodeon decided to ultimately pass on this than to actually take the risk and find out that, whoops, it looks like they actually did rip off Hair Love in order to make Made by Maddie. So yeah, I think, honestly, this is a case where Nickelodeon made the right move to drop this thing instead of just risking it all together. And so we have come to the grand finale of this episode, and what we got here is another piece of controversy. Except instead of talking about some animated program or an animated project, we're going to be talking about a figure in the animation community. And more often, this person seems to be diving deeper and deeper into trouble, to the point where his moment of glory, his second chance, has really sunken down to the point that now he has returned to his position as one of the most, or possibly the most hated reviewer in all of the internet. And I think it's time that we need to address these problems, and we need to fully tell him that, dude, he needs help. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the mysterious Mr. Enter. So what has happened is that recently, there was this post that was circulating around Twitter, and it really did get viral. You might recall that there was a Twitter post that was shared by Internet Spoiler, in which, as I am recording this, by the way, has gotten pretty popular to the point of getting more than 2,000 retweets and also nearly 17,000 likes, in which presents a little conversation between a fan and Mr. Enter himself on his own Discord, where the fan would say, which, by the way, the fan in question is only referred to as Star Wars fan, and states, "Hey, I love your videos," in which Mr. Enter responds, "Wrong chat/channel," in which, okay, the Star Wars fan didn't know, and they would say, "Sorry." And then Mr. Enter says, in response, "Do not ping me, ever!" And then, again, the person would say, "I'm sorry." And as you could probably imagine, this has received some very significant backlash. Not the post itself, but Mr. Enter, because as you could definitely tell, his interaction with this fan is very bitter, I think, to say the least. And on top of that, a lot of people have even reported and have stated that this is technically not the first time that Mr. Enter had this kind of interaction with his own fan base. It's just that somehow, with this one in particular, this ended up getting massively viral. And this is not the first time that this has happened, nor was that the last time that this even occurred, because apparently this conversation occurred in either March 2nd of 2020 or February 3rd of 2020. I don't know, it depends on how Discord would organize their dates and stuff like that. But even at that, like, even immediately after it started to become pretty popular, Mr. Enter was actually very familiar with it. And apparently his response to the fact that this actually got popular was, it made things worse for him as well. Because apparently, according to this, to like a series of photos that was shared by Armdill, apparently Mr. Enter did actually get wind that this little exchange did get viral, and not only did he assume that, oh, this is all just taken out of context and stuff like that, but also immediately pins the blame on Star Wars fan, saying that it's their fault that Mr. Enter is currently getting so much crap in the situation, even encouraging his own fans to just go after Star Wars fan hard at that point. So that, and again, this is just one of the examples of what Mr. Enter would do in terms of interacting with his fans. Like, apparently there have been several episodes where he would be very bitter to his fan base, regardless of how they would approach to him, even if it's something as little bit as innocent as just saying, "Hey, I love your video," you know, even if it's just saying, "I love your videos," and then would immediately respond with just, "Do not ping me, ever." Which I gotta say, like, in terms of that, you know, for some reason, it really makes me think of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, where somehow Mr. Enter's immediate response to someone showing their affection or sharing their admiration for their work, somehow he decided to respond with, that's what it makes me think of. That's honestly the kind of reaction that it really does feel like I'm getting from Mr. Enter. Now, I know that there are going to be people out there who will mention about the fact that just recently Mr. Enter did put out a video in which he would go on the defense and explain a lot more in terms of the context of what has happened during this situation. Now, of course, there is a part of it, I remember seeing it, and I do believe, if I am trying to remember, because, well, let's be honest, I did go through a lot after, my ER and stuff like that, but anyways, going back into this, I do remember in that video, I think he might have apologized, or maybe he didn't, but either way, one thing that I do recall the most from that post was the fact that, from that video, was that all he was doing was just making excuses, trying to defend himself, making him not look like the bad guy in the matter. Pretty much, almost doing exactly what we saw, in his response, with the whole scenario, trying to say, yeah, it's more Star Wars fans' fault for not following the rules, and his approach is still justified or stuff like that. But again, this is just part of one of the many interactions that have been reported from Mr. Enter doing stuff like this. And I just want to go and start things off. I just need to go and make a little bit of a statement that there is a part of me that does understand what Mr. Enter is going through. In terms of, what happened with that kind of interaction and the backlash that he was facing. There was a moment that I could say, I was there once upon a time. You may recall that there was one moment where I had a bad interaction with some fans, especially regarding with my previous approach with Sony Pictures Animation, and it ended up going very badly, to the point that it did result in that Yoshi player video of the problems with AniMat, and from there almost accumulated to an entire backlash of me, and it spiraled into a massive mess. So I do understand that. And I mean, it's not just with Mr. Enter. It also goes through, there's a lot of content creators who would go through the same thing, that sometimes they would inadvertently snap towards their fans because of one little thing or another. Maybe they were just having a bad day. I will confess, there have been times, even with me, I might have not accidentally, where I inappropriately snapped at one of my fans or some of my fans and stuff like that, because they would keep on doing stupid things, but then afterwards we would try to cool our heads and we would talk it out afterwards, to find a bit of a common ground. And of course, afterwards I would go and apologize to the person that I did snap, because it was not a good thing for me to do. Honestly, these things do actually happen. But in the case of Mr. Enter, the reason why, right now, he's back in the position where he is now as, the most hated reviewer on the internet, it has become no accident. In fact, a lot of people have stated that 2020 was definitely the year where Mr. Enter has found his biggest downfall, possibly even more so than some of his previous years. Even more, he's in a worse position than before, when he was the prime target for many people in the commentary community. And it's not just regarding with how he would go and interact with his fans as well. Now, this is one thing that not many people would like to talk about, and whenever they would go and discuss about Mr. Enter, a lot of people seem to want to avoid that, but it's at this point, it's impossible to not talk about it, mainly because it plays a very significant factor onto why many people hate Mr. Enter, especially when many of them actually were his former fans. And that is his discussions about more serious topics. Because in case you guys don't know, which by the way, there are a shocking amount of people, especially from Mr. Enter's own fan base, that actually don't even know, but he has made some extremely controversial statements regarding both the Black Lives Matter movement and especially the coronavirus. When he would talk about the pandemic, not only did he state that there was some quote-unquote reasonable doubt, in his own words, about some of the health and safety practices in order to protect yourself from the virus, which he would go and heavily criticize on things like lockdowns, on social distancing, and especially wearing masks, but he even stated that healthcare is, for some reason, not a human right. And then following afterwards, when he would go and express his opinion on the Black Lives Matter movement, he would actually show more support for the police than Black Lives Matter. Like, even making the arguments that property damage is somehow far more worse and should be looked down upon, and that's why people shouldn't support Black Lives Matter, and and like making those kinds of these uneducated arguments and stuff like that. And on top of that, even stating that he supports and admires more the anti-mask protesters more so than the Black Lives Matter protesters. Now, a lot of people would go and state that, and this is even before all this, a lot of people have said that in terms of politics, Mr. Enter has been known to be a bit more of a centrist. But then again, honestly, even I don't really buy that, and even nowadays, it seems like he is leaning further and further and further to the right. At least in terms of, the kinds of statements that he is making, especially in regards to those aspects. And from there, a lot of people have accused him of just, not only, this isn't just spreading out, his opinion, not only spreading controversial opinions, but this pretty much, people have pretty much stated that he is spreading some dangerous misinformation, that he is lying to his fan base and putting out info that might hurt people more so than legitimately help them. And that is unfortunately something that has also corrupted a little bit on his own reviews as well, where especially starting from his Nicorama reviews, where he would go and have a lot of misinformation being spread about the shows that he would talk about, which lead to many people question the way that he would research his shows, or if he even watched some of the things that he's even talking about in the first place. Now, I know that he did make some controversial opinions, but then again, some things like stating that, when it comes to Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I know that, there's that controversial statement where he said, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has terrible animation or whatever, but, that's just his opinion. That's, whatever. But then there are some things that are more dangerous that he would also go and include onto his animation reviews as well. More and more often, I don't know if some people may have noticed, but he started to, it seems like he's starting to rant more negatively towards feminism. And, the more I listen to it, the more that I can't help but feel like they really are just baseless. That he's just ranting about feminism, almost as if just because he has this newfound hatred for women or something. And on top of that, the more he would rant about feminism, the more that it would seem like he's about to start blaming all the world's problems on, SJWs or something. Eventually, the more he would go down this path, the more of the Mysterious Mr. Enter would just suddenly become this anti-SJW channel, where he would blame everything on social justice warriors. And on top of that, there's also another thing that a lot of people are doing, is that now his past controversies are resurfacing, mainly because he is slowly getting back to his old habits, where he would go and actually flat out attack animators and people working on those shows just for doing their jobs. And a prominent example is stating that apparently the animators who work on Thundercats Roar don't know how to draw, which I'm sorry to say, dude, that's probably the most hypocritical thing that you have ever said. I mean, who the hell are you to say who can draw and who cannot draw? I've seen the art that you have done on your little Growing Around project, and let me tell you, those are freaking pathetic. And you know that those Thundercats Roar animators can draw circles around you, and oftentimes quite literally. So so who the fridge are you to say who can draw and who cannot, when you yourself don't don't even know how to freaking draw in the first place. I'm just saying. So of course, so as you could probably tell, like there's just like this giant pile that has accumulated ever since the beginning of 2020, or even a little bit before that, that just led to a massive downfall of Mr. Enter, where like even his own even like a lot of his own fans have pretty much shunned him and have rejected him. And you see Mr. Enter now has grown into becoming this very bitter individual, to the point that he would go and attack his own fans. I'm sorry, but you know, honestly, I would even have to go and say this, but even this, like when it comes to some of the stuff that Mr. Enter has done, like seriously, not even Doug Walker would stoop that low. Like, I know a lot, like, I know Doug Walker and the Nostalgia Critic is, like, another subject that people love to use as a punching bag, but, like, I know Doug has done a lot of really bad stuff, but not even he would go into this level of low. Like, you wouldn't see him go after fans in this kind of manner. He wouldn't say, do not ping me ever, to his own fan base. You wouldn't see Doug making, like, these kinds of controversial or, like, even making the kind of statements that Mr. Enter would say. Like, you wouldn't, like, I haven't heard reports about Doug saying, like, oh, I support the police more than Black Lives Matter, or saying, like, oh, we shouldn't be wearing masks, there's a lot of reasonable doubt that they don't work, or whatever kind of bullcrap that is. You know, it's bad when even the Nostalgia Critic actually kind of looks good in freaking comparison. Now, I know, like, I am pretty much bashing Mr. Enter hard on many of these things, but, actually, you know, hold on a sec, actually, before I would get into what I want to say, actually, there are some things that I do want to mention, and, like, some things that personally do offend me as well, because I have actually stated in the past that when it comes to the subject of human rights, honestly, I feel like those issues should not be considered political opinions. They should not be based on a matter of opinion, or should be divided into which side of the political spectrum you would be. Human rights should be nothing more but a matter of fact. It's something that everyone should have, and everyone should have equally, period. It shouldn't be determined by one's opinion or by one's political affiliation. So that's why, honestly, the statements that Mr. Enter has done, both in terms of, like, Black Lives Matter and in terms of, like, healthcare and stuff like that, are completely idiotic. And let me ask you, considering that I have been fresh out of the ER, I want to ask you, if you think that healthcare is not a human right, do you not think that for someone like me, someone like who had like a very badly infected throat, who had really bad infected tonsils to the point that I almost cannot breathe, that I couldn't, like, it is not, do you not think that it is my right to go to the ER, to go to the hospital, spend 10 hours there to get the right medical equipment, to get the right treatment to make sure that I at least can breathe, to help soothe up the pain that I was having for so long, for about a week beforehand, and from there to know the results that I would have, to know what is wrong with me, and if I would end up having more diseases in me, or if if I end up getting more problems in my body, you know, like, even afterwards, it's not just that, you know, it's not just, like, infected tonsils that end up giving me, like, an ear infection and many other problems as well. Apparently, this thing also has given me mononucleosis. So from there, is it not my right to know the things that has happened to me and not pay, like, a hefty price for it? Like, do you honestly think all the information and everything that I went through is only a privilege that I have to pay massively for? Like, is that really how your mindset works? Now, I understand, like, I'm Canadian, and it is true, I didn't pay for any of that. I got free healthcare, and the only thing I did pay for is just the antibiotics, and that's it, along with getting a lot of help and support from my friends and family during that time. But still, do you think like it doesn't make sense that I didn't pay, like, to get all that information, like, to, like, do you think I'm stupid for not paying, like, any of the experience that I went through, like, at the ER? Like, is that what you're trying to tell me? Is that your viewpoint that you have because you don't think healthcare is a human right? And like, right now, like, I'm at the point, and, like, plus the fact that right now, because I have mono, like that pretty much has shot down my immunity system, and now like I am much more of a danger if I end up getting the coronavirus. So at that point, like what, like now that I'm like one of the more like, you know, one of the bigger targets for COVID, like do you think like, oh well, like if I die, well then it doesn't really matter anyways? Is that what you're trying to tell me, John? Is that the thing that you want to say to me? Huh? Now, with all that, I'm sorry, I just need to get a little bit into that rant there. I know I went a little bit too deep, but like after that whole personal experience, like I really do take offense, like if someone would say like, oh, healthcare is not a human right or something like that, you know? Like at least I am lucky that I did come out of it and I didn't get something that is fully serious. At least it's not cancer. At least it's not like a deadly disease. It's not COVID or anything like that. But still, man, like when you're in that kind of attitude where you do think less, well, like just because of like the current status of my health, it's just ridiculous. You know, I really do take personal offense to it. But anyways, the thing is, I don't want to go, like, I'm not here to try to demonize John or to try to attack John or anything like that. The thing is that I do want to help John, and I want to give him the best advice that he has to hear. This is not what he wants to hear, but he has to hear. The thing is, John, if you want to get out of the situation that you are in right now, if you want to get out of this hole that you're in, that people keep labeling you as like one of the most hated figures on the internet right now, then what you gotta do, John, is that you need to shut up and listen to your critics. Okay, we don't want to hear any defenses. We don't want to hear any excuses. Okay, people, like, the thing is, with that little video that you pulled out trying to explain that whole Discord chat and whatever, like, yeah, sure, you can get away with it with your fans who has already forgiven you and will still watch your content no matter what. But in terms of the people that you need to convince, in terms of those who you need to go and convince that, you know, that you're in the right side of things, they're not going to care. Because you don't want to listen to them, so why should they go and listen to you? So at that point, you have to keep your guard down and you got to go and listen to them. Because another major thing that's making you such a controversial and hateable figure right now is because of the way that you are trying to desperately avoid critics. Because a controversy is only as bad as how you would go and respond to them. And lately in 2020, the way that you've been responding a lot of your controversies, my God, it really has put you down in such a terrible hill. Like, it is almost shameful, I gotta say. Because some of you may not know this, but like right now, it has gone to the point where Mr. Enter has actually put in a lot more effort into avoiding criticism than actually trying to listen to it, down to the point where, I kid you not, he has actually deleted his Twitter account and his DeviantArt account, now only secluding himself on his own Discord server, where he only surrounds himself with just like his fanboys, like just his yes men, the kind of people, well, okay, this doesn't necessarily reflect on like all Mr. Enter fans, I just need to go and reflect, but the ones who are the most loyal to him are the ones that will devote their lives to Mr. Enter, even if it is something that he is clearly in the wrong for. And I understand that when it comes to deleting his Twitter account and his DeviantArt account, he has explained his own reasons. He did explain why, like, there are a lot of problems with both of these websites. And I mean, he's not wrong on those accounts. Like, he has brought up some good points. But we know that the main reason why he deleted those accounts is because he is trying to hide from criticism. I mean, yes, it is true that Mr. Enter would often face a lot of trolls, a lot of harassers, and a lot of cyberbullies out there, but you would be surprised to find out that most of them are not the case. A lot of them are just people who have concerns about Mr. Enter, and they have some valid criticisms about him. And yet, he would try to deflect all of that and pretend that they are all nothing but trolling and bullying and harassing and stuff like that. That's why he deleted DeviantArt and Twitter. It's because he does not have any control over them. It's not like Facebook or like YouTube where you can easily solve the problem by just deleting a comment and you can, and you don't have to be bothered by that kind of trolling again. He doesn't have that control, so the best thing he could do is to just go and escape it altogether. And again, he's right now just trying to seclude himself in this little safe space where he's just surrounding himself with yes men, whom all they care about is just Mr. Enter, who they think he's like the greatest thing ever. And if you dare say something to him that is not praise, then he, along with his own fans, will try to shoot them down. Now, I technically get it. In the past, there are those Mr. Enter fans who are very defensive about him, mainly because he was such a prime target of the commentary community, and I get that. But it's a lot more dangerous now, where apparently those fans still have that mentality where anybody who would dare criticize him, they will do their best to try to they will try to shoot them down. They will try to silence any form of, criticism, or try to pretend like any of the bad things that he has done never existed in order to keep the high praise of Mr. Enter, to keep him high on that pedestal that they love to look up to. And that's a very dangerous thing. And honestly, those people are more of an enemy to Mr. Enter because they're keeping him in that kind of toxic mentality, to keep him in that bitter mentality where he would go, where they would want to let him get away with these kinds of bad interactions, or make these dangerous accusations, or these dangerous false informations that he would go and spread on his videos. That's kind of the major thing, is that Mr. Enter is currently surrounding himself with the wrong kind of people in his own safe space, because right now he's currently way too scared to face criticism. And let me tell you, John, this is not a battle that you are going to win right now, or that you're not going to win ever, in fact. If you really want all this to stop, if you want really, if you want people to actually stop making fun of you, if you want people to stop portraying you as, the dumbest figure in the animation community of all time, the one person who has made cartoon reviewing, the person who gives cartoon reviewers a seriously bad name, if you want all that to stop, if you want Mr. Enter be a good name for once, then you gotta stop the hiding. You gotta stop covering yourself from everyone else. You gotta stop covering yourself from the criticisms. You gotta stop surrounding yourself with nothing but yes men, and you actually gotta listen to what these people have to say. You gotta realize how what you are doing is actually harmful to your community. How many of these people, the people who are giving you a bad name, many of them, you would be surprised that these are your former fans, and that they're not criticizing you because they hate you, but they want to see you do better. That's the big thing about this. They want you to improve. They want you back as the admirable figure of the animation community again. But in this current position, you can't, man. Seriously, a lot of the damage that you have done, a lot of it is yourself. I would even go and say, some people might think I'm crazy to say this, but honestly, Mr. Enter would be in a much better position than he would be right now if all he would ever say is just wear a mask and Black Lives Matter. And that's it. If he would just say that, then he would be completely fine. Then he would be in a much more positive and better mental state than before. And to be honest, this is going to be the only way you can get yourself out of that sticky situation. This is going to be the only way where you can no longer be perceived as this bitter individual who has no idea what he's talking about, whether it be on serious issues or on animation or whatever. You need to get out of your safe space, get out of your personal bubble, get away from those yes men who only just say yes and say that you're right about everything, and you gotta listen to what those critics have to say. And it's not gonna be easy. I should know. I went through the same thing. there was a moment that I realized the best thing to do is to just listen to my critics. And like, there was a moment that I had to legit sit and chat with Yoshi Player to understand what I was doing wrong. Why were the things that I was saying what was actually more hurtful to people, and that the people who were giving me backlash were not haters. They were people who are admirers and people who are actually concerned and want me to grow to become better. And it's the same thing. Most people who are giving you crap want to see you do better. They don't want to see you as the bitter douchebag individual attacking fans and spreading false information about Black Lives Matter and wearing masks and stuff like that. You gotta learn and realize why the things you have said are harmful. Why the things you have said, they're not just opinions, but they're spreading dangerous information. You gotta realize the damage that you have done. And the thing is, when it comes to Mr. Enter, I know that he could do it. I know that there is a part of him who can actually learn, who can actually grow from the mistakes that he has done in the past. He has proven that he could do so. I mean, with the history of screw-ups that he has made, he has also proven that he can grow from these mistakes and that he could go and actually apologize from them. And I'm sure that if he is willing to do it, then he can actually go and learn how to improve, like not just with interacting with his fans, but also with approaching certain subject matters to go and discuss them, so that he could actually do some better research instead of just taking things blindly at face value and just go with his own biases and go from there, making dumbass, pointless statements. So from there, hopefully he could actually grow, but Mr. Enter needs to make the decision to stop hiding and actually listen to what the critics have to say. And that's going to be the only way he could get himself out of this. Because if Mr. Enter refuses, if he keeps denying about all these claims and just take everything like, oh no, everything is just taken out of context, I did nothing wrong. If he's going to keep doing that and keeps acting like the bitter individual that he is right now, then honestly, it's not going to matter. You know, honestly, okay, fine. We could just leave it as it is. Because after all, you're just the mysterious Mr. Enter. What kind of idiot would unironically believe you know what you're talking about regarding literally anything, even if it is animation or on more serious subject matters? I mean, right now, Mr. Enter is one of the worst names that is in the animation community, so really, a lot of people can live without Mr. Enter, I'm just saying. Unless Mr. Enter can prove that he has much more worth than that. If he can prove that he can listen to criticism and admit to his own mistakes. So that's the big thing, John. Are you going to get out of your bubble? Are you going to stop hiding and actually listen to your critics instead of just being a coward? That's all I'm asking, man. And I mean, I know I've been harsh on you. I know that, like, what I've said has been pretty nasty, but I'm only trying to help. I'm trying to make you wake up and realize what you have done and what you have said has been wrong and has been pretty hurtful, and even towards me. So, come on, man. I'm just saying this to help you. This is probably the best thing you will ever hear. Throughout 2020, even. Just, you know, I'm just trying to help you, man. Like, no matter who it is, you need to go and take a moment to actually listen to the people that you need to hear. Don't listen to the people that you want to hear. Take a moment to listen to the people that you need to hear, is all I'm saying. And with that said, I believe that should go and conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I know this one is a little bit weird, but hopefully we will get things back to normal on the next episode. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.